Right, I'm delighted to be joined by former super flyweight champion of the world, Andrew Moloney. You've got a massive fight coming up at the weekend, but before we get onto that, I know you've been doing some sparring with Sam Goodman ahead of the Naoya Inoue fight. So how's that been going?
Yeah, really good. Thanks for having me on, James. It feels good to finally be back in fight week and about to step back in the ring and get my career back on track. Had a really good preparation for this camp. Uh, Worked out well that Sam obviously has a massive fight coming up against Anoai on Christmas Eve, so they invited us into sort of their camp for a couple of weeks, which worked out perfect. I was preparing for my fight as well, so it's always good sparring with Sam, and we had some great rounds over those couple of weeks, and yeah, that really prepared me well for this fight.
Absolutely. I want to talk about your fight in just a second, but looking at Goodman and Inoue, this is a massive, massive fight for Australia. Do you think you can go over there to Japan Christmas Eve and pull it off?
Oh, look, I hope so. As a fellow Aussie, I'll always back our countrymen, and Sam's a good bloke, and he's really working extremely hard at the moment. So he's given himself every possible opportunity to do that. He's really left no stone unturned and preparing really, really well. So look, he's given himself the best chance, but he's obviously up against one of the pound for pound best in the sport at the moment, and a generational talent. Someone like that doesn't come around very often. So it's a big, big ask. But look, he's preparing as best he can, and I'm sure he's going to give it everything he's got on fight day. And look, it's anything can happen in boxing. So I wish him all the best and hope he can pull it off.
Well, hopefully he can be the second of two massive wins for Australia because obviously you're fighting the week before, big fight, good Thai kid. I think he's 47, 6 and 2, good record. So tell me a little bit about him.
Yeah, that's right. My opponent, Jack Watto, I don't even know how to really pronounce his name correctly, but yeah, look, he's a good fighter. He's sort of very, very experienced, as you mentioned. He's had 60 odd pro fights, and they fight so often over there. It's really different the way they go about things. He's had, I think, 2 fights already in the last month or so, and he's very active. So he's going to be fit. He's going to be experienced, and he shared the ring with some good fighters. He gave Diego Higa, who's a very good Japanese fighter, a really good fight quite a few years ago, but really pushed him hard and put up a great fight against him. And I really rate Higa as a solid fighter. So look, I'm expecting a tough night, a fight that I have to be on my game and had to prepare well for, and have to show up on fight night to get the win and move on in my career.
Hopefully, this is the next chapter of your incredible story. You've had so many good nights. Winning the world title was obviously great, but I thought I want to look at Miguel Gonzalez. You flew over to Chile, got the knockout in the eighth. So tell me all about that fight and what your experience was of fighting in Chile, because not many people have gone over there and picked up a win.
Yeah, well, that's right. That's a little while ago now, but yeah, that was the eliminator for the WBA world title. Gonzalez was, I think, 30-1 at that time or something around that. And they won the purse bid. So we had to go over to Chile and take him on. And look, I sort of hoped that being in his backyard that they'd give me a fair shake. And I think it was round 1 or 2. I threw a punch and I actually just slipped on the canvas. He didn't even throw a punch at the time. And the referee called it a knockdown. So that's when the alarm bells rang that I'm gonna get ripped off here if I don't knock this guy out. So the game plan had to change, and I went for the knockout and thankfully got that knockout in round 8. I think you're right, it was. So that was like a huge relief. Like, I just remember, really, I was sort of panicking in that fight because I knew that they were going to rip me off. So it was a huge relief when I got that knockout and moved on to the world title fight. So yeah, really good moment in my career. It was great. It was great to go over to Chile and experience a fight over there, and they treated us really well, apart from the judges and referees. But yeah, it was a good moment and a great fight.
And I know that you've obviously been around the world in your career, even sparring Vasiliy Lomachenko. Can you tell me what it was like to be in the ring with him?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sparred Lomachenko back in, I think it was 2017. He was about a week or so out from his fight on the Mayweather Pacquiao undercard, so he was primed, ready to go, and um, was over there sparring in Oxnard at Robert Garcia's gym, and actually just finished sparring Evgeny Gradovich, who was a world champion at that time as well, and Joet Gonzalez, who's another good fighter, and finished up, I think, 6 rounds with those guys, and then leaving the gym, already done a big session. And Igor Klima said that Loma was sparring this afternoon, and his sparring partners couldn't make it. Do we want to spar Loma? And obviously, you're never going to turn down that opportunity. Even though I was exhausted, we'd had some pretty big weeks training over there at that point, and yeah, just finished sparring just that moment when he asked the question. So he said he'll be here in an hour. So we quickly went and got a Gatorade and a banana or something from this local petrol station, and then it was just a pleasure to share the ring with him. He's a legend of the sport and one of the best fighters of our era.
He most certainly is. And like you, he was an exceptional amateur. You know all about that. Traveling over to Glasgow for the Commonwealth Games. You beat a lad from Pakistan in the final, but in the semi-finals, going to Scotland, beating a lad from Scotland. What was that like?
Yeah, that's still, I'd probably say, the best experience of my boxing career, winning gold at Glasgow 2014. Had 4 fights over there in 8 days, and um, yeah, in the semi-final came up against Reece McFadden, who was the local Scottish fella, and he was on a tear in that tournament. He took out Andrew Selby in the first fight and Charlie Edwards in the second fight. So he'd beaten two of the highest rated guys in the division, and he had a lot of momentum, and the crowd was really behind him. But we actually did a training camp with the Scottish team, so I'd done plenty around sparring with McFadden, and knew that I had what it took to beat him. So that gave me a lot of confidence going into the fight, and yeah, stuck to the game plan, and yeah, got the win against McFadden in the semi-final, which was, yeah, a huge relief. And then, yeah, up against Mohammed Wasim from Pakistan in the final. And, yeah, to win gold over there was, yeah, a dream come true. And, yeah, still I'd say probably the best experience of my boxing career. Just an amazing feeling to represent the country and come home with gold when not one person in the Australian team won a medal. The Commonwealth Games the year before, 2010, the period before that. So really, to come home with a medal would have been a great feeling, but to come home with gold was just just a dream come true.
I know that Danny Green was a massive inspiration to you. So tell me why he was your hero.
You've done your research, mate. I
I
like
always do my
it.
research.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Before the Commonwealth Games, I really had in my head that I was going to turn professional straight after the Games, no matter what. But then I did have a lot of people in my ear saying to stick around another 2 years for the Olympics. But at that point, I'd really had a love for the professional scene. And to be honest, the Olympic cycle before that for London, I feel like I won the trial fight for that, the selection fight. I felt like I won that fight so easily, and the judges didn't give it to me, and that broke my heart for years. So I didn't want to go through that again for the same thing to happen. I was ready to move on and turn professional and start a new chapter. And Danny Green, who you mentioned, was my favourite fighter as a kid. He's the one who really got me attracted to professional boxing, and he was my hero growing up. And I actually turned professional, and it wasn't until I'd met, Greeny along the way as an amateur and things, but it wasn't until I'd already turned professional, and I was about 5 fights into my career when we bumped into Danny in America, strangely enough, again on that Mayweather Pacquiao weekend. And he sort of, at that point, we'd had 5 professional fights, I believe, and I didn't have a manager or a promoter, and I sort of felt a bit lost. Like there wasn't really a clear path to go forward and how to get to the top. So we asked Danny some advice, and he gave us his phone number and said, let's catch up for a coffee when we get home. And that's exactly what we did. I think after about a week of being home, we caught up, and Danny introduced us to my now coach and my manager, and then just gave us sort of the path forward. We created a really good team around us, and they've taken us where we need to go and showed us the way. And yeah, he was very, instrumental in setting up our careers and our path forward. And yeah, I'll forever be grateful for Danny for what he did for me and my brother.
It's incredible to hear he's had so much involvement in your career, and he's just one of the amazing people you've met. You mentioned before, doing my research, I had a look at your Instagram. I saw that David Goggins turned up to you one of your fights. What was it like meeting him?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was actually, yeah, in the bubble. Yeah, when we fought at the MGM, there's only maybe 100 people there or so. Um, David Goggins was there, and that was when I'd first sort of discovered him. And I was really attracted to his story and his mindset, and listening to a lot of his videos and podcasts and things during the lead up to that fight. So it was quite strange that he was there. And yeah, that was actually the second Franco fight where they still haven't found the headbutt. I should have won that fight by stoppage, and the commission deemed it was a head clash, which he knows and I know there was no head clash. It was from a punch. I know the exact punch that does it. I can show anyone on the footage if you want to watch it. But yeah, that was a heartbreaking night. And yeah, Goggins was there in the crowd, and I had the opportunity to talk to him after the fight, and he just said to me, mate, they absolutely ripped you off. You deserve that fight, and just showed his support. So that was really cool coming from a guy like him. But still, a heartbreaking night, probably the worst night in my professional career, that's for sure.
Yeah, I remember that night, and I remember how unlucky you were in that situation. But I hope, obviously, meeting David maybe cheered you up a little bit. But you're still capable of fighting at world level. We're hoping there's going to be another world title for you. I know that the IBF belt is on the line in not too long a time. Is that the target that you're after now?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, the goal is to become world champion and to do it. I want to be in the big fights. So I don't want to. I'm at the point in my career now where I believe I'm on world level. I believe I can still become world champion. That's the only reason I'm still fighting, is to become world champion again. So whatever opportunity comes around the fastest. But yeah, I think that will be the IBF world title, and the two Mexicans will actually fight for that belt on the same day that I'm fighting this weekend. And I've watched footage of both of those guys, and I'm very confident that I have what it takes to beat either one of them. So I'm really hoping we can get that fight next. Hopefully, after this fight, we can either go straight into that fight and fight the winner, or if not, then we'll look to get an eliminator in the IBF to become mandatory for the winner of that fight. Because, as I said, I really believe I can beat either one of those guys and become world champion again.
Absolutely. I mean, it's crazy for you and your family that you have won a world title, but the fact that you have a brother in Jason Moloney who has also won a world title, it's just what dreams are made of. So tell me a little bit about this road you've gone on with Jason from when you first started to where you are now.
Yeah, it's pretty special what we've got. We're obviously twin brothers. We're very close in weight, the same size. So we've always had great sparring over the years and pushed each other in training, whether it's out on the run track or in the gym. We're always pushing each other to new levels. And there's no doubt that having each other has helped us immensely get to the level we are today. And yeah, we've both become world champions, which was the dream, but the ultimate dream is to be world champions at the same time. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to tie that together just yet. So that's still the goal, is to both become world champions, and hopefully we can do that in 2025. And I'm confident we can do so.
Absolutely. It'd be great to see you and Jason both with world titles again. Obviously, you've gone on this crazy road. We've talked about the Commonwealth Games. We've talked about sparring with Vasiliy Lomachenko. You and your brother both winning world titles. In boxing, either in or out of the ring, what do you think your craziest memory or story is?
Oh, I probably have to say that winning gold at Glasgow, it's hard to split that between, that one and winning the WBA world title. Um, I was quite hard on myself that night. I didn't feel like I performed at my best, and probably my worst critic, and I was really hard on myself that night. Um, and it probably took away some of the enjoyment from winning the fight. It did sort of, settle in the next few days after, but winning gold at Glasgow, if I'm honest, I probably lacked a bit of confidence going into that tournament, and I would have been happy with the bronze medal. So to sort of shock myself really and come away with the gold, I was really extremely proud of myself at the end of that, and I felt like I'd made my family proud, and that was extremely important to me. And yeah, a very, very special moment in my life and my career.
Andrew, thank you so much for giving me some time. I really appreciate it. But before I let you go, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, thank you for your time, mate. Yeah, I appreciate everyone's support. Thank you to my sponsors and my promoter and my team for sticking by me. We've had some rough times recently, but I feel like we've got a bit of momentum now. We'll get back in the ring this weekend, and then hopefully the doors open up with the IBF, and hopefully 2025 is a great year for me and my team. So I appreciate everyone supporting my journey and following along, and yeah, stay tuned for a big year next year.